Be strong.
Why Japan attacked Pearl Harbor?
Why do you think Japan attacked Pearl Harbor?
From what I remember, it was because the US stopped trading oil and other resources with Japan.
Yes, that's one reason. The US and other Western countries had imposed economic sanctions on Japan because of their aggression in China and Southeast Asia.
I see. So Japan attacked Pearl Harbor to try and eliminate the US as a threat to their expansion in Asia?
Exactly. The Japanese saw the US as the main obstacle to their plans for domination in the Pacific. By destroying the US Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, they hoped to buy themselves time to secure their objectives.
But why did they think attacking the US would be a good idea? Didn't they know the US was much stronger than Japan militarily?
I think the Japanese leadership believed that a quick and decisive attack on Pearl Harbor would shock the US into making peace on their terms. They hoped that the US would be demoralized and reluctant to fight a long war in the Pacific.
That sounds like a risky strategy. Why didn't they try to negotiate a settlement with the US instead of resorting to war?
There were different factions within the Japanese government, and some believed that negotiations were a waste of time. They thought that war was inevitable and that Japan needed to strike first to have any chance of success.
I see. But why did they choose to attack Pearl Harbor specifically?
Pearl Harbor was the main US naval base in the Pacific, and the Japanese knew that if they could destroy the fleet there, the US would be unable to effectively oppose them in the region. It was a high-risk, high-reward move for them.
It's interesting to think about how different things might have been if they had chosen a different strategy.
Yes, it's hard to say for sure what would have happened. But the attack on Pearl Harbor was a turning point in the war, and it led directly to the US entering the conflict on the side of the Allies.
I've heard that the attack was a surprise to the US. Did they have any warning at all?
Yes, there were some indications that an attack might be coming, but the US military was caught off guard by the scale and intensity of the Japanese assault. The Japanese had planned and trained for the attack for months in secret, and they were able to achieve tactical surprise.
It's amazing to think about how much planning and preparation must have gone into something like that.
Yes, it was a very complex operation. But ultimately, it was a strategic blunder for the Japanese, as it brought the full might of the US into the war and ultimately led to their defeat.
It's always interesting to learn more about history and how events like that have shaped the world we live in today.
Yes, it is. There's always more to learn and understand, and it's important to remember the lessons of the past.
I agree. It's also interesting to think about the impact that the attack had on the American people.
Yes, it was a very traumatic event for the US. More than 2,400 Americans were killed, and the attack was seen as a treacherous act of aggression by the Japanese.
I can imagine that it must have been a major shock to the country.
Absolutely. The attack galvanized public opinion and unified the country behind the war effort. It also had a profound impact on the course of the war in the Pacific.
It's fascinating how a single event can have such far-reaching consequences.
Yes, it really is. And it's not just the event itself, but also the way that people and countries respond to it that can shape the course of history.
That's true. It's amazing to think about how much power we have as individuals and as a society to shape the future.
Absolutely. It's important to remember that our actions and decisions have consequences, and that we should always strive to make the world a better place.
That's a great perspective. It makes me want to learn more about history and the world around me.
That's great to hear. Learning about the past can help us better understand the present and prepare for the future.
Definitely. Thanks for the interesting conversation, Alex.
No problem, Leah. It was great talking to you. Let's catch up again soon.